Hello, my name's Kara Griswold, and I did my final project on Gifford Pinchot. Most of you from this area, if you live in the Northwest, might know his name from the National Forest nearby, which is the Gifford Pinchot National Forest, and that makes up 1,312,000 acres of land. This is just one of his. This was a big way to commemorate him in naming the national forest after him, but there's many other national parks and recreation areas that are now named after him. His early life, Gifford Pinchot was born on August 11th, 1865, and he comes from a pretty wealthy family that was involved in politics and had connections, but his mother and father were very supportive of his dreams, and from a young age, his father, pushed for him to be in the forestry industry, and his mother more pushed him to be a part of the evangelical church, which their family was a part of, but she was hoping he would pursue a career being a pastor or something involving the church. Which in his earlier life, he did kind of set out to go that route. And he ended up being a Sunday school teacher and was very involved with the community in the evangelical church. But then later on, he still had this burning passion for nature, and he couldn't really escape that. And his mom saw that in him and knew that that was the route he needed to go. He ended up going to school in France because in America, there was no such thing as a forestry career. It did not really exist, so there was no schooling he could go to get this job that he wanted in his future. So his parents ended up paying and sending him to Nancy, France, to the National School of Waters in 1900 to become a forester. And he ended up being the first ever American to become a forester, which is really cool. That's why people kind of call him the founding father of forestry. So then later on, he, realized that this was something Americans needed to have access to, because not everyone can go to France to get a degree in forestry. So him and his brother James actually founded the Yale School of Forestry, and it is still running today. It's still a place you can go to get that degree. So it was just a huge part of his life, and he was very passionate about it. After he returned to America, he was just right into it. He immediately started working with President Roosevelt, and just got right into business. He was not elected, but he was made the chief of the U.S. Division in Forestry in 1905. President Roosevelt granted that to him, and he immediately went to work. And in his 10 years of being out of school, there was only 32 national forests before he got into the forestry business. And in his time, in only 10 years of being in this industry, that number jumped to 149 national forests, which was about 193 million acres. And so that was a really short time for him to have such an accomplishment like that. So that's why he's a big part of the reason he's so well known and respected to this day. And specifically the national forest, the Gifford Pinchot National Forest, that is in the Northwest in Washington. He had a lot of work to do. So when we think about national forests today, we already have access to all these logging roads, and foresters have access to all of that, and we have cars and all of that stuff. So it's a lot easier now. But when he was starting to work on what was then called the Columbia National Forest, he had a lot of work to do. It was very inaccessible to the public and to anyone for that matter. Rangers, Gifford and his crew So the first 2 years in about 1908 to 1909, it was purely construction. They had to build roads for access. They had to build ranger stations. They had to monitor people's homesteading so fires weren't created. So it was really focused on that. And in 2 years, they made incredible accomplishments for the construction of roads. And within 2 to 4 years, it was then being used recreationally for people to enjoy, and not just for easy access for rangers and people in the forestry industry. So that was really, really cool too. He just really had accomplishments very quickly in his career, and he was so passionate that he just made it happen very fast. So yeah, he's a huge part of the reason why we're able to enjoy all of this land today in America, and that's why so many things are named after him, rightfully so. He's done a lot for the conservation of land, and that was basically what led his whole life as a whole, was the thought of conservation. And the definition we have today, the modern definition of conservation, is actually was said by Gifford Pinchot himself, and that is, conservation means the wise use of the earth and its resources for the lasting good of men. And that was said by Gifford Pinchot, and he really based his life off of that and successfully did so. So yeah, that is the life of Gifford Pinchot. I hope you enjoyed learning a little bit about him. Thank you.